Hello and welcome back. Today what I'm going to be doing is basically doing a building tutorial as well as making an 80s and 90s Le Mans prototype. So basically when I build, I always start with this box. Basically you just go into bot, start new box, that's the one I always use. Anyways, I usually start by deleting these, so you start with this little platform. And I go to the front. I always want to make it flat. So if there's no decimal or whatever, like if there's a decimal, it's at a diagonal. This is a pretty easy way of telling if it's not flat. Actually, I'm not gonna make it that long. Make it about that long. Just about that long. So this is basically in the center. I'm gonna go like that. This is what I usually do for the wheelbases. Just do 5 by 5 squares. And make sure to cover it out on the bottom. Then you can just extrude from that the equal distance on both the front and the back. Then, depending on how big your creation is, you can use different size motors. Most of mine use the big ones because they're just that size. And something I've noticed is that if you want the best performance or whatever, you want the same size wheels as you do motor. So this is a large motor. So if you go to wheels, you'd want to use a large wheel. If this was medium, you'd want to use a medium wheel. Since this is going to be a track car, I'm going to put racing wheels. Because in the large variety, it's not the same as this, where like this one can get grip on everything except for ice. None of them are like that, which I don't know if it's a bug or what. So you can either choose on-road or off-road, but if you make something small, you can use them ones. And actually, yeah, I'm just going to use medium wheels and make it as slightly smaller. Now that might be too short, but it doesn't really matter. Close enough. And since I'm using the medium wheels, I'm going to want to use medium motors. In programming, I usually turn the power all the way up and the acceleration to like 80 or 90 and set that to petrol 1 because I just like the sound of that. Let's see, pretty good. Might actually make the wheelbase slightly longer. There, that looks better. But I'll just show you what happens if you use large motors with the medium wheels. It's probably not going to have much of a difference right now, but once you get weight or whatever, it just really screws it up. The biggest problem I've noticed with using bigger motors than wheels is that you slide like that and just slam into the wall. So with medium wheels, I use medium motors, and then what I usually do is I go to how far I want it, as far as that, and I just make something so I can delete that, and then get this to the height I want it to. These cars are pretty low to the ground. Oh, and something you can do is see how the grid size, you can move it by 5. And I set it to the arrow keys so that you can change the grid size. And I usually make it in 2.5. What I do is I go, as long as it's in the center this way, it doesn't matter about this way. And make these straight down. So and check to make sure these are the same length. That's 17.5. That's 15. So I'm gonna move that in 2.5. That's 15. And that is 15. So they're equal length apart from the center. And then I go up 15. And then put it where I want to, and then just raise these so it's level again. And then we can just connect these like that. Delete the one in the middle. And then make a bend the same on both sides. Now that doesn't look very good, so I just undo 4.5 one that way. And that looks much better than what I had before. You can lower it if you don't like how it looks, but I'm fine with that because of the suspension and everything. I might actually raise the rear end up a little bit, just then I can slope the car forward. So I'm going to go all the way up to the front and put it down 2.5. And then just do the same thing here. And now we have the wheel hub things for both sides. I just realized that this is a bit high, so we can just lower these down. Or that's like the main frame. Something I'd recommend for building is to build a frame structure, like a wire structure first. Because going like this, I don't know, it's just harder for me to build anyways. So I like to make a wire frame first. It's a lot easier to modify what you already did too. And since I'm building a car that actually exists, what I like to do is make so that it's not like an exact replica of one of them, like I usually make race cars or whatever, but I like to make it my own version of it. So I look at many reference pictures and make my own version of it. I have kind of a square front, so I'm going to go like that. Over there. There we go. That is the front. It might be a little bit close. Let me see. I might actually move that forwards a little bit. So I'm just can select the whole thing, so I'm going forward 5 centimeters. And move the other part 5 centimeters forward. Then it will look nice. Something for when you're building cars is you want to just pay attention to the little details, like they have this little lip here, and it goes like that. It's like an aerodynamics thing. There's a problem that I've run into that I run into quite often, is that it's too low to the ground. As you can see, you can't really turn. Right now it's too low, so what you can do is you just click on that so it's in build mode, and you can just drag that down just a little bit. And do the same for the backs, and the body's still at the same angle in comparison to the base. It already drives much better. Something I'd recommend for making your things look better is to not delete every edge piece, because well, in this car it looks kind of good like that, but it's not always going to look good. Like, it's nice to have trim pieces sometimes. Anyways, I'll just do a little time-lapse thing again of me deleting all the individual pieces. It takes a while, but I think it's worth it. Something I forgot to mention is something else that you can do is you can hold shift and select several pieces, and then still holding shift delete them all at the same time. Kind of speeds things up if you want to do it a bit faster. Another thing you can do is you can change the spring stiffness of these motors. Just click on it, press T, then you can change the stiffness of the springs. Like this, I usually experiment around with them until they work good. Something else that I like to do is I turn everything into mesh, and then I turn like all the downforce areas into aeroplastic or aluminum or whatever. I like the aero aluminum two-tone paint. It can be two colors, and I just really like the look of it. Something else I like to do is I paint the side panel things here. As long as they're perfectly vertical, they're not sloped in any direction, they're good as rudders. And then obviously you gotta paint the rear wing too, or turn it into aero plastic or aluminum or whatever you're gonna use. And something I like to do is use two colors that mix, like let's say big yellow, nice yellow there, and red. They have to be right next to each other for it to work. steering wheels is I make the, well, obviously I make it in the cab, I should fix that, but I like make a dash part and I make it indented with a hinge and a thing on it. That'll be the steering column, and you can just extend it out and then put the steering wheel here. My brain's starting to stop working. Anyways, what I like to do is I take the axle that's steering and then take current steer, no, not current, but current steer, connect it to that, then turn the speed of this way up. And I also like to turn the motor strength way up, just because right now it's backwards, so let's take it and put negate, and now it is turning the same way as the wheels are. So just add a camera. What I like to do for the cameras is make a little platform like I did in the beginning. Get just a 5x5. Go to camera, put that there. And then I like to use shift. And I use toggle and then put it to the camera. Anyways, now shift should be first person. The camera is actually pretty good already. Might move it up and forwards maybe. Let's just see how that looks. Yeah, I actually like the look of this better. I gave this car kind of a Mercedes style paint theme, with just like a darker blue. Originally I did have it a bright blue, as you probably saw in the time lapse. Steering isn't the best, but in the time lapse you probably saw I had it a light blue, but then later I changed it to dark. And it's also first person. Almost seems easier to drive in first person than in third person. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know. When you go around the corners, it does bounce quite a bit, but softening the suspension makes it bottom out easy, and it's just harder to turn. Anyways, I got a 5187. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.